Prince Harry is leaning on his brother as William celebrates the end of Volunteers Week.
I'm going to share a little secret with you guys, but I'm actually on the platform volunteering.
How are you? Amazing.
Yes, I am.
Meghan and Harry are holding meetings about Black Lives Matter, while Harry's aunt reveals the royals lent a helping hand, and Emily Gibbon apologizes to Meghan.
My comments were not legitimate. They were just mean.
Plus, royal reporter for The Insider, Michaela Friel, reveals what it's like to be one of the select few invited to cover intimate royal events.
It's quite fun being the only one that would actually know that, William and Kate are about to show up. So it's quite fun.
We've got that plus so much more in today's Royally Us. Hello to our fellow royal lovers and welcome to Royally Us. I'm Christina, that's Carly, senior reporter for HuffPost and royal commentator. Hi, Carly.
Hi, Christina. How are you?
I'm doing well. How about you?
Just about the same.
Yeah. Same show, different week.
Yep, exactly. Same as can be.
But we do have a lot of news to get to today. A lot of stuff going on. But before we do that, of course, we have to highlight some of our royal watchers, our royal viewers who had a lot to say about last week's show. So let's start it off with Rivonia. Said, as I've said on other platforms, great speech, somewhat plagiarized, but it's an additional voice on the matter nonetheless. I just remember Jackson Avery saying this line in Grey's Anatomy season 13. Huge fan of the show. Me too. So when I Googled it, I realized that's where I've heard it before. Maybe she was inspired by Shonda Rhimes. I mean, who isn't? Okay, so they are talking about Meghan's speech on George Floyd from last week when she spoke to her former high school.
Yes, they are. And I actually looked up these two quotes. So the quote from Jackson Avery is, "We're petrified of saying too much or saying it wrong, when the truth is the only wrong thing you can say is nothing at all." And Meghan's quote is, "I wasn't sure what I could say to you. I wanted to say the right thing. And I was really nervous that I wouldn't or that it would get picked apart. And I realized the only wrong thing to say is nothing, because George Floyd's life mattered, Breonna Taylor's life mattered," and she goes on and names a lot of people. So I actually don't think that it was plagiarized. I think it's something that we're all feeling right now, where we all want to speak out, condemn police brutality, speak out and say these people's names, but we're so terrified of saying something wrong. But I think it's something that we're hearing from a lot of people right now.
Definitely. I mean, it's like you said, it's words that everybody is feeling, and to say nothing is just as bad, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So okay, let's move on to Toot 394. Meghan is from LA. Why should she not go home? Meghan is one of the most popular women on the planet. She'd be chased anywhere she goes, period. Now, this, of course, is talking about our conversation with Simon last week about how they really want some privacy while in LA, but they're probably not going to get it.
Right. And Simon even said, really, no matter where they go, because they are of such a crazy stature, they're the most famous people in the world right now. LA, anywhere, they're going to get the same amount of attention.
Totally. Okay, Maggie says, you don't move to LA to stay away from the cameras. But I mean, in her defense, she is from LA. That's her hometown. That's where she grew up. That's where her mom is. That's where her friends are. So, I mean, it kind of makes sense that she would move back to LA. It just so happens to be one of the biggest paparazzi places of the world.
Right. And I think if they moved to any big city, this would happen as well. And I mean, people would say something if they moved to a small town. Can you imagine if they moved to a small town? And they sort of did that on Vancouver Island, where, they had paparazzi hanging out of their gated community, people approaching them on walks. So I really feel like they can't win unless they move to Antarctica, which doesn't seem like it'll be happening.
I don't think so. Yeah. I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. And then Cheryl Goodman says, how long will Harry stay in England if he leaves the U.S. for safety reasons? And we're actually going to talk about this, right?
We are, yeah. This is a really good question that touches on some exclusive Us Weekly reporting that you guys have. So stay tuned.
All right, so let's move on to our royal news of the week, our royal roundup. Now, we are learning that Harry and Meghan have been speaking with Black leaders in the community in regards to Black Lives Matter. So what do we know about this?
Yes, so after Meghan Markle gave an incredible speech condemning police brutality and speaking out about George Floyd's death, Omid Scobie revealed that they are speaking with communities and people at all levels to fully educate themselves on police brutality and, make sure that they are as informed as possible going forward.
Definitely. They're doing their homework. So do we think that Meghan is going to continue to speak out about this, going forward?
I do. And Omen said that, you know, this is such a personal issue for her as she is biracial. And even before Meghan was a royal, when she was an actress, I mean, going as far back as when she was 12, Meghan has always spoken out about what she believes in, whether she's calling out sexist advertising at 12 years old, 2012 when she's participating in a charity, standing up against racism. I think that we'll see a lot from the couple going forward.
I mean, do you think that this was like, I read somewhere, and I think you sent me the link, that, you know, she probably wouldn't have been able to do this speech if she was still part of the royal family?
Right. I saw that sort of chatter everywhere, just because a lot of people were saying that it was a really political speech to come from her, and that she's a royal. She's not allowed to speak about anything political. The royals are typically apolitical. But a lot of people are saying, and I agree with this, it's not a political issue to stand up for Black people and to speak out against police brutality. When she was talking about voting, that's when a lot of people were sticking with that and saying, well, she mentioned voting.
Right.
But I just think of this as a human rights issue and not a political issue.
No, I totally agree with you. It would be nice to hear more of the royals kind of step up and make some statements about this, because it's something that's not only affecting the United States, it's affecting the entire world, as we see protests throughout the world.
Exactly. And we have seen some leaders, you know, in Europe speak up, and most of the Commonwealth is Black. So it really would say something to hear this from the royal family, and not through one of their patronages or their charities, but hearing directly from them, you know, supporting Black lives that matter all around the world.
Yeah, it would make a huge difference, I think. So what are some people saying about Meghan's speech?
It was a lot about, you know, just whether it was political or not. I think there are always the critics who say, why didn't someone speak out sooner? But I think this was such an important topic for Meghan and Harry, and she had already long planned to give this address. So it felt like this was sort of the perfect moment for Meghan to speak out. And I mean, she spoke for 2.5 minutes without notes. It was extremely personal, extremely emotional. So, you know, everything came together at the right time.
Yeah, it definitely did. No, like you said, you know, because they don't have social media anymore. So this was the perfect platform to kind of get her message across, while also inspiring those inspiring those graduates.
Exactly. And that's what we said on the show last week, where because they don't have the Sussex Royal platform, we were going to wait and see, you know, how it would come through in another way. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, definitely. Speaking of people that are speaking out, let's move on to author Emily Gibbon. Now, we talked about this story a couple weeks ago. She slammed Meghan on Archie's birthday, saying that she was a phony, unmaternal, and poorly playing the role of a mother. But she apologized. So here's a look at that.
I understand that what I said upset people, upset a lot of people. And it wasn't my intent, but I need to be more careful about the impact of my words. And, you know, I am sorry, and I'll do better moving forward.
So what do we think about this apology?
I actually really liked this apology. I like that she made the distinction between, you know, being critical and being mean. And she said that her comments were just mean. And she said that going forward, you know, while she is so unfiltered, that is her personality, she's like that on social media, she said she needs to be more careful with her words going forward.
Yeah, she definitely does. I mean, were you surprised that it took so long for this apology to happen? Because it's been like, I don't know, all the days are mixed together, but it's been a couple weeks.
Yeah, so she actually apologized the day of when this scandal went out. I think I was actually the first person to release her lengthy apology, you know, where she said that she wasn't a racist, that she, you know, is a longtime fan of the royals and was just being critical, but, you know, did apologize for her words. And I think now she's on a book tour. I think we're going to see a lot more discussion about her Meghan Markle comments. But I think she did the best thing that she could do, which was apologize and say that she was being mean.
Yeah, definitely. Well, she was. All right, let's move on, because the royals actually have something big to celebrate, as it was the end of Volunteers Week, and Kate and William had a Zoom call with some volunteers, thanking them for all their hard work. Take a look.
I'm going to share a little secret with you guys, but I'm actually on the platform volunteering.
How are you? Amazing.
Yes, I am.
You guys are out there volunteering in your own ways. Everyone's got something to give back.
We've been supporting families to grow more food at home.
It's just like having another daughter.
Oh.
You know,
Well, I started off teaching the younger children how to play chess.
Are you a chess maestro, Kane?
I'm not that good.
Kane, you'll have to give me some lessons. I'm terrible. Do you feel it's made a big difference to the younger generation?
It's just nice seeing that they've grown and that they've built this confidence.
Would you recommend volunteering?
Yeah, it's such a good experience and I've got so many other opportunities out of it.
You're giving so much back, not only to the young people, but to your community as a whole.
It's National Volunteering Week. I want to say a big thank you from both of us.
These small acts of kindness, they go such a long way. You're a lifeline, really, to them.
Oh, we love these William and Kate Zoom calls.
It's the brightest part of my week, you know? Just, my life doesn't change, but the Royals make new headlines, thank God.
Exactly. So what did they say in this video and who is it for?
This video was really cute. They basically just spoke to volunteers across the UK, young and old. I especially love their interviews with young kids who are volunteering. They spoke with one young man who is teaching other kids how to play chess. And, you know, Kate was being so cute with him. She was like, you're gonna have to teach me, I'm horrible. And yeah, just thanking people for the work that they've done.
I love that. Now, how did they get involved in all this?
The Duke of Cambridge actually on the call when he was speaking with Shout, which is a 24/7 tech service for mental health, he confirmed that he's been one of the secret volunteers over the past week, and everyone cheered, and the Duchess did a little clap like that. But yeah, again, it's a cause that's so important to them, mental health. He just had that big mental health documentary come out, so it was a really cute reveal.
Oh, so cute. Imagine that. You would never even know that you're like texting with Prince William.
Exactly. I wonder if the people seeing that were like, was I texting?
I know.
How can I tell? I know.
No. Now, have we seen Meghan and Harry do something like this? We kind of saw them do something like this recently, right?
We did, yeah. Actually, last month, they were on a Zoom call with the Crisis Text Line, which is based in the US, and that served as the model for Shout. So the Cambridges and the Sussexes together released Shout, and yeah, we saw Harry and Meghan meeting with a few employees. One employee leaked a photo of it and said, I can't believe they crashed my staff meeting, which again would be crazy. These royals, they're sneaking in everywhere.
They really are. We're just waiting for them to drop into our Zoom.
Exactly, yeah. Zoom call us right now. We'll give you guys the code.
Seriously. Okay, and Kate has been, Zooming like crazy this week. She also did a virtual tour of a treatment center, so take a look.
Well done to all of you who are continuing to provide the most life-saving and crucial support to all those you look after, and particularly now at such a difficult time. So huge congratulations to all of you.
So yes, like we said, Kate has been busy. So what was she speaking about in this video?
So Kate was getting this tour of Cloud's house, which is a part of one of her patronages, and she was meeting with, you know, some of the people that work there and have still been counseling others during the pandemic. And then she also dropped in on a group meeting to talk to some people who are currently receiving treatment there.
Yeah, that's great. And then this actually ties in with her previous work with the pandemic, right?
It does, with one of her patronages, which is Action on Addiction, and especially with the pandemic, addiction levels have been on the rise, and the patronage has also found that, you know, people are drinking more in the pandemic. So this visit was really, really appropriate, and Kate thanked people for doing the work that they're doing, especially when everyone is going through such a hard time right now.
Definitely. And Princess Charlotte got a little shout out, right?
She did. It was so, so cute. It's always nice to hear the little kids, and I think everyone likes, you know, learning more about what they're doing and what they're up to.
Definitely. I love it. And we're actually learning some more about Prince Charles, because he spoke out about his diagnosis with the coronavirus. Of course, he was diagnosed back in March, and he is speaking out about his illness. So take a look.
I suppose it did partly. I mean, I was lucky in my case, and got away with it quite lightly. But I've had it, and I can so understand what other people have gone through.
So luckily, he actually did not have a bad case of the coronavirus, which is great because he is in the age range where it kind of hits the hardest.
Right. And at the time, William said he was really nervous for his dad because he's had chest infections before. But Prince Charles said that he just got absolutely so lucky that he only had mild symptoms. I think I was really nervous when I heard this news. And like you said, being in the age range, it was very scary. We didn't know a lot yet, but he was, he emerged a few weeks later and totally fine. He was quarantining separately from Camilla. So the photo of them seeing each other again was so cute.
So cute.
But yeah, he said that he was really lucky and that he especially feels so bad for families right now who are not only losing loved ones, but aren't able to be with their loved ones during their final days.
Oh, definitely. I mean, it's heartbreaking. It really is. But he really has been keeping busy during this time. Like the rest of the royal family, they've really stepped up and kind of added a ton to their workload.
Definitely. They really have. And, Camilla said even when Charles was diagnosed, he wouldn't stop working. And as recently as yesterday, he thanked pupils and teachers for their hard work. A lot of teachers have been doing so much to make sure that kids are still getting the schooling that they need with, limited resources, trying to figure out Zoom teaching. So it was really sweet to see his message to them.
Okay, let's spill some royal tea. Let's kick it off with Harry and William, because like we said at the top of the show, we have some news about how he has been leaning on his brother during his move to Los Angeles. So what are we hearing? What do we know?
Yes. Well, Us Weekly exclusively obtained information, that William was telling Harry, like, he's faced so many obstacles during this move to LA. I mean, obstacles is an understatement. No one could predict a global pandemic. No one could predict that it would go on this long. And really, as of right now, we don't know when things will get back to normal.
Mm-hmm. Right. And I mean, we're hearing that, William really wants Harry to be somewhere safe. He doesn't really want him to stay in LA. He doesn't really feel like it's a safe environment for him. And, we've learned that Harry, it's been a big adjustment for him. Like you said, he moved in the middle of a pandemic. You can't really get outside. You can't really get to know the area. He's kind of been, locked in his $18 million mansion. But, he kind of went into this with like rose-colored glasses on, and it's not exactly what he thought it was going to be.
Right. And especially missing his dad when he was diagnosed with COVID. And, as we talked about on the show last week, that Meghan and Harry have been having drone flyovers at their house. And, that's really scary. They've received death threats in the past. I'm sure they receive them constantly on social media. So they're having to take these drone flyovers really, really seriously. And yeah, security is such a big issue for the royal family, given what happened to their mom and when she left the royal family, or at least, stepped back in terms of Harry and Meghan. So I know that William, more than anything, wants his brother and sister-in-law to be safe.
Oh, definitely. We've also heard that the Queen has been checking in as well. So she's making her phone calls to Harry to make sure everything is okay.
Yes, and I'm sure to check in on adorable little Archie, which I would be doing all the time.
Totally, FaceTiming all the time. Speaking of people checking in, so this was interesting that Harry's aunt, the Countess of Wessex, she revealed that the royals actually lent a helping hand to Meghan when she first became part of the royal family. So what did she have to say about helping Meghan?
Yeah, so, being a royal and a current member of the royal family, she kept her answers very short and sweet. And she said that we all lend a hand when someone joins the royal family. But this is super personal for her. She comes from a middle-class family. She did not have any royal ties prior to marrying her husband, Prince Edward, and it's thought that she was appointed by Queen Elizabeth to mentor Meghan and welcome her personally into the royal family.
That's so interesting. So like you said, she has a similar background, so you think that they would kind of mesh really well together. And this is interesting too, because we always go back to Meghan's interview saying that she's not okay, but right. I wonder if, his aunt was somebody that she actually leaned on during this time.
Right. And I believe that she did. Sophie, the Countess of Wessex, only lived 10 minutes from Harry and Meghan when they were staying at Frogmore Cottage. And if you remember, Sophie and Edward were the two that sat next to Harry and Meghan on their last royal engagement when we saw all of that tension with the Cambridges. But yeah, she said that, Sophie said, based on her own experience, she lived in the UK where she was born and raised. She dated Edward for 5 years, so she got to see some of the paparazzi and the pressures of what it would be like to be a royal. And, she compared that with Meghan, who dated Harry for 2 years, but really only spent, 6 months in the UK, and that was after they got engaged.
Right.
So she was saying, even though she spent all that time with Edward and the family and lived at Buckingham Palace, she still didn't really know what she was getting into.
Right. At least she was able to ease into it a little bit rather than Meghan, who was kind of
thrown in.
Yeah, thrown in at first.
Exactly. So I think that was, like a really big stand of solidarity with Meghan, saying, a lot of people have said, how could Meghan not know what she was getting into? And here's Sophie saying, I didn't even really know.
Yeah, totally.
After all those years.
Right. And she's not married to Prince Harry. So, do that like tenfold.
Exactly.
Yeah. But she also, what was something that was kind of controversial in this? Well, she did say that they had to step up their workload since Harry and Meghan left. So everybody's kind of picking up the pieces there, but there was also some controversy in this, right?
Yeah, or she actually said that she gave a very coy answer about it, where she said, I haven't been informed of any increased workload, so nothing has changed yet. But that kind of remains to be seen. But yeah, this interview was really controversial. It was with the Sunday Times. Sophie was highlighting her work in South Sudan with and getting justice for the victims of sexual violence. And the interviewer, of course, being a great interviewer, said, what do you think of Prince Andrew? Because Prince Andrew is currently being investigated for his ties to pedophile and sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein. And Sophie said, I can't answer that, and you can understand why. So I think it was great to see that brought up in the interview. It's so important to ask those questions. And it also begs the question, when will the royal family actually really condemn Andrew?
Right. I mean, it's been going on for quite some time. And like you said, we actually had news this week that U.S. authorities want to speak to Andrew, and they're just kind of dragging their feet a little bit. Well, he said that he already reached out a couple times, and so it's kind of going back and forth, right?
It is, yeah. The Department of Justice formally requested to interview Prince Andrew. This time they did not go through the royal family. They just went, right to the UK's office. So Prince Andrew's lawyers fired back and said, we have, been willing to go speak with U.S. authorities 3 times specifically, and the U.S. authorities, or Attorney General Jeffrey Berman, fired back and said that is absolutely not true. The prince is portraying himself as someone who's willing to help us, when in fact and in private that's been the exact opposite response that we've gotten. And I loved this, where he said, if the prince really does want to be so helpful, come talk to us.
Right.
We're ready. Prove it.
Prove it. I mean, of course, he spoke out a few months ago in that disastrous interview with the BBC. I mean, we have a quick clip of it just to remind everybody.
Now, I went there with the sole purpose of saying to him that because he had been convicted, it was inappropriate for us to be seen together.
I mean, you really don't get worse than that.
You really don't. And also what I thought was so interesting is this interview was nominated for a very high award, and Prince Andrew is actually president of the awards company that could possibly honor this interview. So that's something that we'll be looking for in the next few months, as well as seeing if Andrew actually is willing to cooperate, which he's proven in the past few months he doesn't want to.
No, definitely not. And he is not going to be part of royal life. I mean, like, obviously he's part of the royal life, but not publicly. He's not doing any engagements or anything like that.
Right. And I don't know. He's stepped back in November. He said, I'm going to step back from royal duties after this disastrous email and my ties to Epstein. And still he, a few months ago at this point, was carrying out private engagements, sending out messages on behalf of the Queen. He's been photographed with Sarah Ferguson. I did expect him at Trooping the Colour, which would have been around this time. So while he's not publicly going out and doing engagements, the royal family really is still standing by him. Queen Elizabeth is allowing herself to be photographed, going to church with him, riding horses with him, in such a show of solidarity. So I think it really is time for the royal family. How can you not respond to the Department of Justice and say, he's done something wrong or he has ties to someone horrible?
Right.
So yeah, it's on the royal family to basically shun this black sheep.
Yeah, I think they should. It's about time. Time to step up.
Definitely.
All right, let's move on to, let's break down some royal rules. So you and I recently had the pleasure of speaking with Michaela Friel. She is a royal reporter for Insider, and she gave us some insight on what it's like to cover some of the most publicized and intimate royal events. Take a look.
Hello, Michaela. I love that you have joined the Royal Rota for certain engagements with the royals. What is that like?
It's been amazing. I've only been to a couple so far, but the ones that I have been on, it's amazing to have a full another perspective to, when you just see the pictures, but to be on the other side of that and see like all the preparation that goes into the events, and how Kensington Palace, for the events I've been to with William and Kate, how they like plan things precisely, like down to the minute. And seeing that firsthand is like really exciting.
I'm sure. Do you ever, what's it like being so close to those royals in those moments? Do you get a little starstruck? Because I think I would.
For sure. The first time, I think I was just so focused on, like getting to the front and getting a good picture and like seeing everything clearly, getting a good angle, getting a video, that I don't think I actually took it in properly, which is a bit of a shame. But I suppose it's one of those things, like with time you get used to it, and that it just happens, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. And what sort of preparation does it take for you before you go to these events? What is it like coordinating with the palace?
Well, they actually have most of the press arrive quite early. For some events, it's maybe about an hour before the royals will actually show up. So you turn up and, you'll see all the photographers on one side, and then you'll see the members of the press on the other side. And obviously, because the timing of the events aren't released to the public for safety, most people around you don't really know what's going on, like passers-by outside the building that you're waiting at. But you will see a few people kind of like look around and think, oh, maybe something big is about to happen. But it's quite fun being the only one that would actually know that, William and Kate are about to show up. So it's quite fun.
Yes, you have a secret that nobody knows. I love that. What surprises you the most about these royal engagements? Has anything unexpected happened? Has anybody tripped and fallen? Anything like crazy like that?
I would say actually the thing that surprised me most is probably how like calm everything is. You would expect it to be like, the crowds that end up seeing the royals mostly by accident, that aren't part of the press. You would expect like lots of screaming and lots of dramatics, or even in the events where, say, I saw William deliver a speech at an event for their mental health line texting service, November I think it was, and he did a speech and everyone was just in the audience was just so calm, and that's probably the thing that I was like most shocked at.
Because you'd expect there to be so much emotion or maybe tension in the room while he's speaking. But I loved one of your articles where you went to Windsor, where Harry and Meghan got married and lived for a little bit. What is Windsor like?
Yeah, I did. So I went there like earlier this year because I had never been before, and obviously there was a lot of a bigger interest after they announced that they would be, spending more time in North America, and would probably be leaving their like Frogmore cottage there. So I thought I would go and have a look and take some pictures, and I was quite surprised because it is so close to London, just like a train journey, but it's like this secluded, like its own little world, and it seems very peaceful, even though obviously there's tourists with Windsor Castle, and there's people that want to get their pictures and go for like the historical side of things as well as for Harry and Meghan. But yeah, to me it seems like such a relaxing place to live. But of course, I can only speak from like my experience being there on a weekday when Harry and Meghan weren't there. So
yeah, and such a quaint place. Sorry, Carly, go ahead.
It is, so sorry. So you talked about Harry and Meghan stepping back, and obviously you're based in the UK. How do people feel about them stepping back from the royal family?
I think it's definitely mixed. I think, as we know, the British tabloids were quite critical of them even before they left, but afterwards, I would say maybe even more so. And I think that's maybe a reflection on the fact that Harry has, grown up here, and a lot of the older generation especially have watched him grow up. So maybe for them, that's like they feel that, you know, Harry is like theirs in a sense, and you know, they maybe feel hurt that he is leaving, and some people maybe feel a bit abandoned, which is a shame because of course he just wants his own life and like to protect his family. So
do you think that they're going to ever come back?
I don't think so, because they did say that they wanted financial independence. So I think unless the Queen changes her mind on that, probably not, but you never know.
Mm-hmm. And the Tatler article made a really huge splash in the UK or in the US last week. How was that received by you all?
Yeah, so that was quite a bit of drama when that article came out, mostly because I think Kate has quite a good relationship with the British press. You don't really see too many kind of scandalous articles, and I think a lot of that is to do with, you know, she's very cooperative, and she provides the birthday pictures of all her kids, and she always, you know, provides updates on Instagram and things like that. So I think people just didn't really know what to think when they read it. And of course we've seen like the response from Kensington Palace, and then the statement that Tatler made after that. So I think that just adds even more confusion to what people think about it.
Are you surprised that Kensington Palace might take legal action now?
Yeah, for sure. Like I know they have taken legal action in the past against some publications, but it's very rare for them to do it. So it's quite a big deal. So we'll have to see how that plays out, and you know, if anything else comes from it.
Mm-hmm. And in February, you published an article with photos of Kate and Meghan that you said the press didn't want to see. Do you think there was ever a feud between them, or do you think that was sort of concocted in the tabloids?
Yeah, so that's really interesting. Yeah, the article I wrote was kind of just, you know, spotlighting some moments, you know, of the girls when they went to Wimbledon together, or when they'd be pictured like hugging at events, and maybe that's not something that the press would focus on. I'm not sure about their relationship. I think that, you know, it could be the case that, you know, as like Harry said, that him and William aren't as close anymore. It might just be the case of like the couples naturally drifting apart, or maybe they were never too close to begin with. But yeah, I definitely think it's been like over exaggerated in the press for sure.
Yeah. What about William and Harry's relationship now? Because, you know, we hear rumblings in the press that ever since he moved to LA, it actually brought them a little closer together, that, you know, maybe absence makes the heart grow a little fonder. But it seems like maybe they're speaking again. What are you hearing about their relationship?
Yeah, for sure. There's so many mixed things, and I suppose you can only hear so much because they are in different countries at the moment. But yeah, it's all kind of speculation just now. But personally, I hope that they are back on track, because it's quite sad when we saw the pictures of them at their last like engagement together, the four of them, and it looked like nobody was speaking. So yeah, I would hope so, that they are like back in touch, maybe like video calling or something. That's what I've heard. So hopefully.
Yeah, I feel like we're all rooting for them.
Yeah.
And again, you published, I love this story so much, about a woman who didn't know that she was dating a prince for 2 years. Is that right?
Yeah. So it was Princess Keisha of Nigeria. I interviewed her, I think it was just a few weeks ago. And yeah, it was a crazy story. She was a model, and she met this guy in New York, just like standing outside of a hotel. And he asked for her number. And then after they went on a date, they started dating for 2 years, and she didn't find out that he was a prince in Nigeria until she met his mum, who broke the news. Yeah, she was so inspirational to interview, just because obviously she didn't realize, you know, she had no intention of becoming a royal. So everything that she did after she found out, it didn't really make a difference to her, how she lived her life, which was really like refreshing.
I think that's amazing. I love how she was like, I think you forgot to tell me something. Like, you're a prince. Like, hello. No, but I think that's so great that she, you know, she wanted to continue to work and wanted to continue to have her own identity, which I think kind of gets lost when you marry into a royal family for, you know, some women.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And she told me that, you know, her whole reasoning for wanting to have her own like independent career and not stop that when she became a royal was she always kind of felt it was more important for women to be independently wealthy, but also independently happy. And, you know, it doesn't matter who they're married to, but you always have your own thing that's separate to the relationship, which I think there is probably a lot of royals like that, but obviously the royals that we mostly follow, we just don't get exposed to that kind of thing. So it's, yeah, definitely like a whole new perspective.
Mm-hmm. And I wonder, after, you know, Meghan and Harry wanting financial independence, if we'll see Prince Charles start to incorporate that, or maybe William with his own kids will be more flexible with that. But you have another story about another royal who was in New York. I'm based in New York and I never run into these princes. But tell me about this prince who hid his identity once again for a media job.
Yeah, so it was Prince Nicholas of Greece and Denmark, who I spoke to. I think it was in March time that I published the interview with him, and he was lovely. Yeah, and he told me that he, it was many years ago, but he did work at Fox News, but he didn't want any kind of special treatment, not just on the professional side of things, as a production assistant, which I think was his job title, but also just, I think, in terms of the relationships he made there, the working relationships, he wanted people to form their own opinions. So he didn't tell anyone that he was Prince. He used a completely fake name, but then everyone found out anyway because they saw pictures of him at his brother's wedding. So
oh my gosh,
it was out. What did he say with what it was like working at Fox? Did he enjoy it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he said it was like one of the best jobs he ever had. And I don't know if that was because of the fact that he was anonymous or just because he loved like the industry. But yeah, he seemed really down to earth and like he really enjoyed it. So yeah, it was another refreshing interview.
Thank you so much for joining us. And can you tell readers where to find your byline and where to follow you on social media?
Yeah, so you can find all of my writing and the royal news at Insider, so that's insider.com, and you can follow me on Twitter, and it's just Michaela Friel, my name.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much. I love talking to Michaela. She was so much fun.
She was. We're going to have to join her and tag along one day. That'd be
seriously.
So
I would love that. I'd love to be a fly on the wall in those events. That's going to be so much fun. Let's move on to our royal history moment of the week. I love this. Prince Philip celebrated his 99th birthday. Happy birthday, Prince Philip.
Happy birthday.
So how did he celebrate, even though we found out that he hates birthdays?
Which I also really love. So he celebrated with a new photo with the Queen. It's a really rare photo of Philip at this point. We haven't seen them since they've been quarantining together. He doesn't always look happy to be photographed. I would say this photo is no exception. 99, and he's been married to the Queen for 72 years. Which
what a life.
Absolutely amazing. But he is just celebrating with a simple lunch at Windsor. He already got birthday wishes from, you know, Charles, Camilla, the Cambridges. Harry, Meghan, and Archie are said to be Zooming him later today. But yes, this is a man who hates his birthday. Once at a garden party, someone tried to offer him a present and he handed it off to someone else and said he didn't want to carry it. And people routinely advise visitors not to wish him a happy birthday whenever events coincide on it.
That's so funny. But I mean, 99 is something to celebrate. I mean, that's fantastic. And I love the royal family. They shared like a series of photos of him throughout his life, which I thought was really sweet too.
It is, and I feel like so many people are interested in Philip now because of the crown. There's a renewed interest in Philip and his early life, so it was really fun to look back through all those photos. And I mean, again, we keep saying it, but 99 years, it's incredible.
It really is. I mean, and now we're getting some new information on how we're going to celebrate the Queen's birthday, even though it was a couple months ago.
Yes. So we are celebrating the Queen's official birthday, which is marked by Trooping the Color. It's her second official birthday celebration. And obviously we can't have parades right now. We can't have the traditional fanfare that would go into it, but they are going to have a very, very small Trooping the Color parade. So at least we'll get, you know, a little happiness there, some pip pip hoorays, and you know, give Her Majesty what she deserves.
Yeah, the second birthday, because don't we all deserve that? I love how Philip hates his birthday, but she has to have two.
And she has two, I know. And that's what I love, that he hates his birthday, because they have to do so many engagements and parties. I feel like he's like, this is my one day. I just want to do nothing. No one talk to me.
Leave me alone. I love it. Okay, before we wrap up, we have to check in on the royal kiddos in Pint Size Palace. And we actually got a brand new photo of the kids, courtesy of Duchess Kate.
We do. It is so cute. I mean, it's Princess Charlotte, Prince George, and Prince William. Their backs are turned, but this is how desperate I am for new information and new photos. I totally don't mind. But it's the cutest photo. It is showing George and Charlotte volunteering back in April. They were handing out packages of food that they'd packed at Sandringham. And yeah, it's just really cute to see them getting involved.
It really is. And then we recognize some of the pics from Charlotte's birthday, right?
Yes, so we saw a few of Charlotte packing the food and dropping off some pasta at the door, and it looks like this was a little before the scenes in that William was walking them up. And I also love seeing little George wearing sneakers with his, you know, very prim and proper outfit, but it's just fun to see them being kids and also participating and doing some really good stuff.
Definitely. An adorable way to brighten up our days as well.
Exactly.
Charlie, thank you so much for breaking down all the royal news with me for this week.
Thank you. So great to see you. I already can't wait for next week.
No, definitely. And if you can't wait for next week, we have all your royal news covered over at usmagazine.com. So make sure to check it all out. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and keep commenting. We love seeing all of your comments. They brighten our days too.